Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wills.
And I'm Ashley Steigerwald.
We have Stephanie Worinkeng with us from A Time to Organize. So we wanted to...
So excited about this one.
That's how you can tell we're like really
I'm
big
such
nerds.
a nerd. Ooh, we're going to organize and talk about bins.
I love it. I think it's great.
Honestly, it excites me too because I'm like a big cleaner, not like a cook. I don't like to cook.
Are you a cleaner or an organizer? Because I love to organize. I do not like to clean.
I do not like to organize.
We match.
I know, we're a match made in heaven. Yeah, so in fact, like I feel like it's just kind of, like I think with my kids, like I'll go through little phases where I'll like organize their toys and we'll do like throwing this out, but no, that does not bring me joy. Bringing me joy is like mopping the floor.
No.
And vacuuming. Ooh, vacuuming. I actually got a new vacuum in and I was like waiting for like days.
Yeah, I got a new vacuum for my birthday.
It's exciting.
It's kind of silly, but I did. And it's great, and I'm excited about it. So.
See? It's an exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before the show, you said you went to organizer training, and I was like, where is this? Can I go?
For fun? Like a weekend
for
getaway?
fun. It's like girls' trip. Let's go organize.
It was a fun trip. So I started my business out of high school, and I went out to California, basically. That's so even better. I mean, It was in California. And basically, it was a training program, and it went through, how do you interact with the client? What does that even look like to run a business? And we actually did some on-site organizing. We organized a little girls' room. We got to go to the Beverly Hills Mall and go to the Container Store. And you talk about somebody in a candy shop. That was me. It was exciting. And I was 18 starting this out. So that was also I need to act like an adult. I need to be an adult. How do I be professional and all of that? So it was really cool. And it was very just invaluable experience, really, because it was with an experienced professional organizer at that time, and this is, a while ago. And so being able to learn from her and really know, hey, what does it even take? What is a professional organizer even at that point? Because now we've gotten a little bit farther, and so most people, you say, I'm a professional organizer, and you have some kind of an idea of what that is. But at that point, it was...
Will you explain exactly what your normal job would look like?
So it does vary because everyone is different. Everyone's needs are different. And so I have worked on the end of the spectrum with hoarders. I've actually been on the show Hoarders.
I love that
You talk
show.
about...
It stresses me out. I can't watch an episode of that.
I feel like you either really love it or you kind of just really get stressed out and you hate it. So it was a great experience because that particular show, you can go on my website and watch the one that I'm in. I'm like in the background, but we did go through, we had the Got Junk guys, they came, they pulled everything out of the house. I mean, I walked into this house, it was floor to ceiling, little teeny, 1.5-foot pathway to get through. Didn't even know there was a second bedroom. I didn't know there was a bathroom in there. So that's just like the extreme of it, okay? Yep. And so I've worked in scenarios like that, some a little bit less. I keep touching the microphone.
You're fine.
I talk with my hands, I'm afraid. One end of the spectrum working with hoarders, and a lot of the time it's figuring out, what are the issues behind that.
Because it's you're talking mental illness in a lot of cases.
It's a mental illness when it gets to a point like that. Yeah. And generally it's triggered by some kind of tragedy or really hard thing that the person went through earlier in life.
So by keeping things, does it make them feel like in control?
It makes them feel in control. You have to think about there's a void. There's something traumatic that happened, and so there's this huge hole. And for them, they're filling that with stuff to feel fulfilled, just like somebody else with an addiction would fill the void, like gambling or eating or exercising. So you have to think about it that way. The client that we worked with on that show, he explained it. He felt like all of the stuff we were having him get rid of were his children, and he felt like we were ripping his children away.
Wow.
So that perspective, I think, is really helpful because you watch the show and it's like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not like that, and I haven't gotten to that point. And I mean, yes, that's true, but you have to think about, that is an extreme,
Right.
So one extreme of end of the spectrum, all the way to I've walked into people's homes and it's beautiful and you feel like, why'd you even call me? But it's because the function of, say, the kitchen is not working well for the habits of the client. One client I went to, she was out on the lake and it was beautiful, gorgeous scenery. Her kitchen was almost flip-flopped in the opposite direction of what made sense for her and how she would use it. And so we went through, and a lot of the time, my typical job, I'm getting around to it, I'm sorry.
This is great.
Bunny rabbit trail.
This is great.
Typical job, I want to go through and you tell me as the client, what do you need? How are you overwhelmed? And it might be you're in your kitchen and you can't find things when you need them. So how can we think through what are your habits? How can we put things away based on how you use them? And that's going to look different for everybody because everybody's different. There's no one size fits all to organization. And so typically when I'm with a client, I'll go in for a consultation and I say, don't clean up because I need to see your mess. I'm not coming in to
that
judge.
would be me. I'd like clean up first. I'd be like, oh, it's always like this.
There's always that temptation, and I'm sure people do clean up. That's fine. But I really want to see where are your drop zones? Where do things accumulate? Where are your piles of paper? Where do you drop your purse and your keys? And where is it just kind of a clear surface, or is there a general spot? How can we round that in to make a system around what you already do? And that allows you to maintain long term. Because if I went in and I just organized it how I would prefer it to be done, that will be probably completely different than a lot of clients because we think differently.
Do you have like a simplistic, like minimal approach? Like do you have them throw a lot out?
So honestly, no, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been doing this a little over 11 years. And I've worked, again, different ends of the spectrum. And yes, in an organized, perfect world, it would be nice to really just downsize and get rid of most stuff and you only have what you need. That's not going to work for everybody. Just like I said, no one size fits all to organization. And so I would define it as organization. I would define organization as, do you know what you have? Do you use it? Can you find it when you need it? That might look different for some people because they may use stuff a lot more. They may be really interested in something and it's important to them to have that hobby. The issue that I would have is, hey, there's a box sitting in the top of your closet that you haven't touched since you moved in 10 years ago.
Yes.
Do we really need to keep this?
Yeah.
And there might be exceptions. I mean, because sometimes there's, I don't know, maybe ashes from a loved one or a pet or something. Obviously, you're not going to throw that out, even though it doesn't really serve a purpose. But, you know, so there's a lot of what works for the client, how are they using the space, and kind of going from there and seeing what works. For a lot of people, we want to downsize and we want to get through. But there's also the aspect of, most of the time, it's really how do we use the space that you currently have? Because if you were to weed things out, you could use it very efficiently, and you'll find you have a lot more space. Most people don't even need to get rid of stuff necessarily. It's just reworking it and thinking through, being purposeful with what you're keeping.
I like that about efficiency and purpose because that's, you know, I think we mentioned this when we were on the phone. I have this thing against unitaskers. I despise unitaskers. So like,
what does that mean?
My mom bought me this thing and you put garlic in it and you run it on the counter and it chops up the garlic. And I'm like, I have a knife.
But it's only used for that?
Yes. And I'm like, I have a knife and a knife works for everything.
That takes up space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a like unitasker fan. Like if I buy something, it needs to be like multifunctional. But the efficiency thing, like being able to find your stuff when you need it is like one of my biggest pet peeves is if I can't find something I need, like I lose my mind almost. So like cooking, like lately I haven't, but I typically cook a lot and I'm tall. So in my kitchen, the only place for pots and pans was at the bottom cabinet. And it made me crazy because I'm like ducking down to pull everything. So I cleared out a section of our pantry because we've got a spacious pantry and each pot is right there. So I can just boom, I go in there and pull the one.
Yes, I love it.
You would have such anxiety at my house.
Oh my God.
Because
I love organizing.
Ours is like, one time I did, well, not one time, several times I'll go in and try to organize it. But then like, if I'm cooking in the kitchen, because it's not when, it's just like an if. It doesn't happen much. Bo will play with all the pans. So then he'll just start pulling stuff. And like my Tupperware, you know, it was so organized. I had it all stacked. I even had like, you know, the lids in this certain section. And then he just pulled it all out. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. So I have to figure out like a way. Because then, you know, when I unload the dishwasher, I literally just
Yeah.
toss it in, close the door, because he'll come over and like, ooh, Mom, what can I get now?
Yeah. And let me tell you, you're not alone on Tupperware.
Tupperware
is a big deal. A
It's
lot
horrible.
of people struggle with Tupperware.
Yeah.
So
you
I
can't
don't-
find the lids.
I don't own Tupperware.
What do you do?
I don't keep leftovers. I have a thing against leftovers. I say
What
them-
about like taking
No.
kids to like school and like, what, do you pack lunches?
disposable
Disposable.
bags and stuff.
I have so much Tupperware.
Really?
Like, it's weird. I don't understand where it comes from.
Because we used to put stuff in the fridge and like, oh, we're totally going to eat this. And then we never eat it. So I was like, I'm done. I ban it.
Chris won't eat
It's gone.
leftovers. I will.
I won't eat.
There's an example of, for you guys
Yeah.
are both different people. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't
You need your
organize things the same way. You know, you need Tupperware, you don't use Tupperware. So that doesn't need to
Just
have.
come over to my house when you're feeling bad, and then you'll like feel really good and happy. Like, at least I don't live here.
I'll pay for a consultation. She can come over.
Well, it's funny. I told my husband what we were doing today, and he said, "Can she come over and do our garage?" And I was
That
like,
is probably where we
"Oh
do
my
need help.
god, oh my god!" I honestly
do
am too
garages?
embarrassed.
I've done everything.
I'm so embarrassed by our garage. It's a shameful place. Like it's a shameful place. I literally like if someone's coming over, I like run to the garage, make sure it's because we look like we're hoarding stuff.
But you have kids and kids have things.
Let me tell you what's all in there. So we have a golf cart, a lawnmower,
space.
a riding lawnmower,
Takes
which
up
is
space.
basically a tractor. So we have like a golf cart, a tractor, lawnmower, yard equipment, the boys' big riding toys,
Okay.
like their cars,
Yeah.
a wagon, double stroller, single stroller, bikes, a refrigerator. I mean, there's so much.
You need a detached shed in the
stuff.
back.
Well, that's what I told him, but he's like, no.
You need a basketball court.
We need a basketball court. So, and then did you see what else we did? The construction zone.
Yes.
So we have 3 little boys, 6, 4, and 15 months. And my husband wanted to put this like giant, like basically a sports arena in our backyard. And I was like, all the boys want is to play with dirt. Like that's what they care about. And so I was like, so if you do that, then I want dirt delivered. It's so weird.
Oh,
But
that's
I
so
know
fun.
it makes
I
them
love it.
happy.
I love
and
it.
so we got mounds. Like we had these trucks coming and delivering this
cool.
dirt piles. And then so one's a dirt pile. And then we got like giant boulders to surround it, so it didn't look just,
Like a giant pile
Just
of
like
dirt.
a big old
Yeah.
pile of dirt
So
in the
then
middle of your
we
backyard.
also on the other side, it's sand piles. So we got sand delivered.
Wow.
And I was joking that I was gonna like take a selfie, like laying in the sand. Like there's no room for a shot.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, because you've got dirt.
But like that's what the kids like for them to be outside and content is what I need right now. Anyway.
Oh, I completely understand.
She put it up on, and I was like, oh, are you doing construction? I thought like they'd moved dirt. And she's like, no, I had somebody deliver dirt. And I'm like, okay, cool. No, it's a great idea though.
I sent it to the VP at work, Nick, and I was like, does this make the home value appreciate?
That's great.
Piles.
That's great.
And we got tires because my husband works at Sunbelt. And so we had like these giant tires. It looks horrible, but the boys love it. And our neighbors, they're pretty much over every day, like looking, can we come play? And I'm like, I'm so glad we spent so much money on the sports arena. I told you what they wanted.
Tires,
the whole
dirt.
time.
Awesome.
Tires,
I
dirt,
love it.
and
Hey,
sand.
flipping tires, that's a good workout right there.
I did actually flip it. Chris
did?
videoed me. I was like, take a video of my wad. What did he call it?
Workout of the day.
Wad. Yeah.
I just wanted to throw in a CrossFit term.
Yeah.
Take a picture of this wad.
Because you're hardcore like that.
So anyway, but
Total tangent.
total
Bunny rabbit
tangent.
trail.
But anyway,
Good.
there's no room for the shed. So I don't even know how you would organize the garage that is this disgusting. Like,
Yeah. So simple, should we be doing a consultation? And this is pretty much how things work. Show me where your problem areas are. Problem areas, what are you overwhelmed with? What do you not like? Obviously, you don't like it because you're closing the door every time. So then looking at, well, what does this space need to accomplish? It's storing some things. Do you want to have your car park in there? Are you okay with your car not being parked in there? So those are questions to answer. And this would be true for a kitchen, for a closet. What's the goal of the space? What's our ultimate ultimate purpose? Where are we aiming towards when we're doing all of this sorting? Because it makes it easier knowing your end goal.
Yeah.
And so then figuring out, you listed all of those big items. I'm sure there's probably smaller items in there too.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
So there's a lot of thinking through, how worth it is this item taking up your valuable commodity of space? Because space is also a commodity. A lot of people forget that, but space is a commodity. And so, you've got a double stroller and a single stroller. Mm-hmm. Do you use both?
Yes.
How often do you use them?
Yes.
Where do they need to go? Okay, so, all of those things, maybe all of those big items you listed, those have to stay in there.
Yeah.
Great. That's okay. We make space for that. All the other smaller things, maybe bins of things around the outside. Do we need the shelving? Do we need all the bins? Could those things go elsewhere or be donated? Or could we condense down 3 shelvings sections worth of bins into one, and then that allows for more space for the ideal items that you need to keep that take up a lot of space.
Right.
So thinking through it that way. Generally, we'll approach organization as, first you want to group all of your like items together. So figure out all of the big equipment that you had, strollers go together, outdoor ride-on things for the kids, kids' toys, those kind of things. Then you're able to see duplicates within those categories. You're able to downsize on your duplicates, and you ask yourself, when was the last time that I used this? Did I know that I had it? Did I know that I had it? Whatever, whichever way that works.
Right.
Did I use it?
Right.
And so if you're able to answer those questions and you go, I didn't really know that we've had this in here all this time. If it's over a year that you've had it and you haven't used it, that's a good indicator of you need to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Clothing, that's like 2 seasons. So 2 summers, have you used it in 2 summers? Okay, let it go. Those are just good rules of thumb. Obviously, there's always, little exceptions as you get through it. But generally, group like items together. Then you're able to sort between keep, give away, throw away, and then items that go into a different zone or room or area. Okay. And then from there, you're able to figure out, okay, now I've taken out all of the things that can be donated or trashed or sold. Now, all of the things that I'm keeping, how can I put them away based on how I use them? And then I like to describe it as ABC storage. A is most accessible, B is somewhat accessible, C is, yearly.
Like your Christmas stuff.
Exactly. Christmas stuff can go on top shelves. If you really need more space in there, the ceiling mounted racks that add more space in the garage, even some big heavy duty metal shelving that you can get from the store. As you get more custom, that's obviously spending more money. So it just depends, where are you on that spectrum? Would you rather kind of keep it more cost effective and get something that's a pre-made shelving unit, or, and those are all facets that you visit. So tackling your garage, that's how I would do it.
Yeah, it's a job.
And the one other thing I would take into account too is when it's one person who's using it, great. Sort it by that one person. But if you've got multiple people using it, you need to take that into account. So if you set up a system where it's got 10 different bins for these more divided up categories of things, it's going to be really hard for lots of people to put them away, especially if they're not sharing your desire for organization and having things look neat and clean.
Yeah.
So if you simplify that from 10 different bins or, however options to put things away, and you simplify it into, say, 5 or 3 bigger ones or something where it's easier to drop things in, those are things to take into account based on the space. How many people are using the space?
Yeah.
So
I recently did a big clothing purge organizational.
Yes.
I have like a bin that I put under my bed, and I call it clothes purgatory because it's like the stuff that I'm not ready to throw out. So I'm like, let me revisit this the next time I go through my stuff. And then I usually 99% of the stuff I end up. But I'm really quick to throw stuff out.
I am too.
Like, I am not attached to things.
Yeah.
Whereas my husband is attached to things. Like, even during my clothes purge, I was just like, Goodwill. I went to Goodwill. I snatched something out of the bin, and I was like, I don't know why I threw it. He looks at me like, what?
But that's a great point.
Like,
to have a bin somewhere in your house where you can put things as you're going through things, like in the bottom of your coat closet, or, you know, you mentioned under your bed, but if you've also got things more than just clothing, that's a great tip that I tell people. Have an open bin somewhere. When it's full, you put it in the back of your car. You may ride around for a little while with it in the back of your car, but that way you've planned ahead and you've thought, I've already done my sorting. This is stuff I'm going to let go. Now it's in my car. Hey, I've got 10 extra minutes that I didn't think I had. I'm right by Goodwill or Salvation Army or Miracle Hill. I can drop it right by, you know?
How often do you tell people to, like, keep up? Yeah.
It depends on the project. I hate saying that, but it really is very specific to who the person is. Generally, I mean, I feel like every 6 months or so, it's good to just kind of go back through. And granted, if you do it on the regular, it's going to be easier going through. It's not like a big whole clean out.
Yeah. That's like bathroom stuff, because, you know, stuff expires.
Right.
And
6 months is generally pretty good, because you can see now on the back of my sister's an esthetician, so she gives me all the lowdown of really
when to throw
this
stuff.
makeup stuff, especially eye stuff. It can give you infections, so if you don't get rid of it I think generally it's like 6 months maybe on the back. It's a much slower time frame. You risk just more and more getting infections, and you don't want that. But anyway, just a good 6 months, that's a great thing. Maybe when the seasons change, it's really good to go through things. And that doesn't mean you have to do the whole house at one time. It may be just every couple months you say, hey, I've got a Saturday, let me take an hour and just go through this one closet and just take a look. And maybe I have got more time because I already did a big clean out. So then you can do another small area. But give yourself be realistic with the time you have. To focus on a project, so you don't end up with starting 5 different things in 5 different rooms, creating a bigger mess.
Well, kids' clothes, and for us, it was like the kids finding their stuff in the morning. I mean, because Bill does the morning routine, and I mean, I would wake up and they're all like, "Where are your shoes? I can't believe you lost your shoes. Where's your coat? Where's your lunchbox? Where's your water bottle?"
Now masks.
The whole thing. The whole thing.
Shoes and masks.
So we ended up, I call it the Harry Potter closet under the stairs. So in the Harry Potter closet, we ended up putting a low shelf, and then under that we've got bins for the different sports seasons. So we've got a football sports season, baseball, soccer, and we put all of their stuff in there. And then on the shelf above it, there's a smaller flexible bin, and it's
You do love a bin.
I do love a bin. I got all the bins. So each one has a bin for their shoes, and then above it is a hook for their backpack and for their jacket. And then when they come home, I make them take their mask and, you know, the little hook on the backpack, tie it to the hook on their backpack. Yeah. Because in the morning, like I was
so organized.
Oh, I love organizing, but cleaning, forget it. Forget it. I hate cleaning.
See, I love it. It just brings me. I literally sweep daily.
It's an efficiency thing for me. Inefficiency makes me crazy. And if I can't find something and then it delays me getting something done, and then what happens is I'll get frustrated, and then I get to the point where I'm like, that's it, I'm throwing everything away, and then I figure out a system that works. But I realize by not taking the hour to get it organized, I'm spending 3 hours during the week trying to find things. And it's so frustrating.
And that's a good point there. You want to think through what are the habits of your family, everyone using the space. How can you think? You're thinking backwards when you're at that really rough point in the morning. You know, everybody's going crazy trying to find things. How can you think backwards? Maybe it's taking, hey, before we brush our teeth or before dessert. Here's a better idea. Before dessert, we're going to take 15 minutes and put everything away that maybe didn't make it into their homes beforehand. That way we're ready for the next morning. But just we did this growing up. I'm one of 5 kids, and my mom homeschooled us. So you can imagine lots of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so we would take a 15-minute, we called it a 15-minute warning. And it was at the end of our school day, right before we got a fun treat, and we read, you know, a chapter from something like Little House on the Prairie or something. And it was great. I'm the neat freak, right? So I was like, yes, everybody's working together. The house is going to be
Love
clean.
this time.
This is awesome. We all get free time afterwards. We get a great snack. But it was helpful because everybody was doing it together. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you can do it. It's a reset. And so you're ready for the next day. Things are put away in their homes. They love structure.
They love structure. And I the other day I went in because I'll never forget, I had a listing, and her son, he was probably about 7. He was making all this stuff and taping it all over his walls. But it, like, she said it meant stuff to him. And, like, he'll know if she took it down. So she's like, do I have to take it down for pictures? And I was like, no, we'll just don't worry about it. I don't want to upset him. So we didn't. But Bennett started. So he'll, like, the other day he wrote, like, it's embarrassing. God, Jesus, Bennett, Clemson. Like, repeatedly, and was taping it all to his walls. And I was like, okay. Like, not sure about this one. But I didn't want to immediately take it down, so I gave it, like, a week. And then I went in the other day with, like, a bin, because then he took all his empty Lego boxes and, like, stacked them. So it was, like, organized chaos for him. But I walked in, and I was like, holy F, like, this is ridiculous looking. So I went in and I cleaned his whole room and tossed, like, everything. Well, he walks in, I kind of thought he was going to yell at me. And he's like, thank you, Mom, my room looks great. And I realized by, like, simplifying, he had gotten, I think, probably overwhelmed with all this stuff. And he didn't want to throw it out himself. So I just took it upon myself to do it. But he was grateful, even though I took his little...
I throw away stuffed animals when they sleep. Oh. Like, every once you both made that face.
Cold beast?
No, it's because I relate. I've totally gone through and gotten rid of stuff while
they don't even notice.
You have to do it slowly. If you do it slowly, they don't notice. But, like, there's the cache of, like, Frankie's Fun Park / Dave and Buster's, like, cloth ones that they've slowly been disappearing. I don't know what happens.
So there is one point, right? With kids, it's a little bit harder because you are, generally we're all mostly moms here. I'm sure there's some dads, of course, but generally we're the moms going through and doing this. And so you want to think through, there's that balance because you want to respect people's stuff. I'm not going to go into a client's home and I'm throwing everything away unless I get permission, even if it looks like obvious trash. I need permission because I've been in situations with people on that end of the spectrum, and it's still their property, even if it's a candy wrapper that was sitting on the floor. You never know because, and this is, mine. We're not talking about dealing with kids, right? But you never know. That could have been like the last candy wrapper that somebody ate before they passed away or something, and it had special memory. You just don't know.
You never
know.
You
always be really careful. But with kids, especially little ones, I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so I think with kids, you think about, in daycare or preschool or, school, they thrive on structure. And so knowing where things are and finding it when you need it, when you can use it, and not being so overloaded by so many options of toys, it's actually more conducive for creative play and being able to enjoy their space when they know where things go. It also helps mom because if things are simplified and you know where things go, when you say clean up, there's not just, hey, let's shove it all in the closet. There's actually, oh, okay, these 3 bins over here in between the bed on the shelf. That's where our general toys go. Books go on the shelf above it. And then our shoes and socks are in the bottom of the closet. Big toys go in the bottom of the closet. That's it. Right. So if it's simplified like that, it's helpful.
Otherwise you're setting them up for failure because you go, hey, go in there and clean it, and they're just...
They don't know where are the expectations. How do you know what even to do? Because if they don't know where things go or they're set up ahead of time, it's hard on both mom and them because they don't know what to do, unless it's a super organized little kid. But, that's probably not the vast majority of little children, right?
Right.
So thinking through, it is good to simplify. You might put it in some black trash bags and have it in the garage, and maybe they don't ask for it for a week or 2. And if they don't, then let it go. If they ask for it,
I've done that.
Yeah, purgatory. It's just for toys instead.
Yeah.
But if they don't ask for it, then we didn't even miss that. If things are broken, letting go, because it's a safety hazard, of course. One other thought would be, 2 tips, because I was thinking about toy stuff. Like, what are things that work well? We don't live in a super huge home. I think I mentioned that, and it's worked well for us because we have what we need. But there's 2 little toddlers, and so I basically have a couple of little zones in the living room and then a little bit in their bedroom. But what we do, one big tip that I tell people is don't have things accessible for little kids that you're not okay with it all being out at one time.
Yeah,
right? So if it really stresses you out to have so many things out at one time because they got it and they're just going from thing to thing, eliminate what they have access to. And I don't mean take away their toys. We don't need to be mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's something like Legos, that's a big mess thing. What if you stored those up high and then that can be something you do together? And then maybe you have bigger blocks that don't create such a big mess that takes a lot of time to clean up. That's what's accessible for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and again, depending on age. But so don't have things out that are accessible.
We made our coat closet into like games, all the little puzzles, stuff that they were pulling out all the time that they used to have access to.
Yes.
That I was like, what is this piece? What is this piece?
Yes.
And then I would end up getting frustrated and just throwing everything out. So we're a little more organized now. And I usually, like, after Christmas, I'll do a big toy purge.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing, like, the boys
before
aren't playing like they, you know, now it's more like they're coloring, and they were going through my office stuff the other day with tape. And like,
I don't let toys downstairs.
Okay.
There's downstairs is
see,
a
and
no
with Bo,
toy zone. I know, because yours are younger.
We
Mine
kind
are.
of got out of like having all the big toys downstairs, and now it's back. And even this week, I was like, all right, we're bringing half the toys back to the bonus room because somehow they ended up down here again, and I don't want to look at everything.
Yeah.
But it's hard, and then organizing and keeping up
is.
with all the cleaning.
It
It's
is.
like, oh my gosh.
Well, and that's where, you know, especially like the big, that might be a good, hey, we're going to take 10 minutes, move things up. And maybe you don't do it every day. Maybe you do it once a week. Hey, we've overloaded. We're going to reset before we have our free time on Saturday.
Yeah.
Let's take 10 minutes. We're setting the timer. Everybody's doing it together. That's helpful for kids because mom's doing it with them.
Yes.
They don't feel alone. They don't feel like, I got to clean up this huge mess and I'm all by myself.
And it's a short time frame. You can get a lot
short.
done in 10 minutes.
10
Yes,
minutes.
that's a good idea.
10, 15 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
like, and you might say, hey, we did really great. We're almost done with this. Let's just finish up this little project. Mommy will help you, you know, that kind of thing. One other thought, you know, we talked about toy purgatory. Maybe you don't get rid of them. Maybe you, you have a couple of bins that you can put in the garage or in the top of a closet. The top two closets of the shelf in my kids' room, I actually take toys that I'm like, you know, we've used this, we enjoyed it, but we've not played with it in a while. So I put it up and I pull out things that I'd already had up there. So it's like Christmas, there's new toys, put them in strategic places. And that way it's almost like, hey, we've refreshed things, but it's still the same smaller amount of stuff that's accessible, but it's changed out. So almost like a 6-month switch kind of thing.
My mother-in-law told me to do that, and of course I didn't. Because
But it
it's a
works.
great idea.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I would encourage, you don't have to do all of these things all at once. It could be you just start with one shelf in the living room and you do that with the toys. And then, you know, you find yourself with another half hour free. Maybe you go through the closet and you kind of pull out things and simplify it.
Yeah.
But
I know, I feel like
can
when
be
I
a
get in those
process.
moods, I like have to take advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's
that's
like-
an ideal world. I'm just saying, like, real life is there, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I mean, I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I can't always get everything done that I want to in that moment. So,
Right.
you know, set realistic goals for yourself. Can I get the top of this desk cleared off in the 30 minutes that I have? If I can't get it done in the 30 minutes, maybe I just say, okay, half the desk. You know?
And I do it with them because I think it's important for them to also not get so attached to their stuff. So I do encourage them to go through it too. And it's not always, occasionally there'll be the thing that I go in there and pull in the middle of the night and stick in the black trash bag, usually Nerf gun related because they're shooting each other and they're all screaming.
Yes.
Oh my God. But I do have them go through their stuff too. But what about school papers? Do you save school papers?
That's a great question.
Okay, so best thing that I've seen so far, because you do want to keep the memories, right? Get a file box for each kid.
I have
And
that.
that's
I haven't
like,
been in the top
there
of
you go.
each of their closets.
There you go.
And I'll keep not a lot of stuff, but
yeah, so that's like their whole school career, right? I'm saying like 18 years worth of stuff in there in this one file box, because what you can do is, you know, you gather them. Maybe you have a inaction file in the front, and that's kind of, you're filling it up as you go. Every couple months you pull out, hey, this is from the same class and this one is the best out of all of them, the rest are terrible. Hey, let's keep the one with the A+ on the top. Great, for memories. Then you've got a file for each year for each kid, and it's the best of their work. And then you can do that throughout the 18 years. And then that way, when they graduate college or graduate high school, hey, do you want to look at this? They can decide if they want to look through it. They may be like, look through it one time and, okay, I'm done. And you can throw it out. If you want to keep it too, then that allows you're just keeping one file box rather than 5 bins of papers. And you might have bigger things that you really want to keep on to, but you have to weigh, is it worth taking up my space? How often will I actually look at it? Because if it sits in a bin in the top of your attic and you don't look at it for 15 years, is that worth taking up your space?
Right.
Or even that mental heaviness of, I've got those bins in the attic that I have to go.
Yeah.
We cleared our whole attic for that reason. I was like, I want nothing up there. I want nothing up there. And like the school stuff, my rule is if it's got a picture, I keep it, or like a little handprint or footprint, or a really good piece of writing, or like a journal, like the end of the year journal that they wrote.
Yes.
Other than that, they're like, here, mommy, here's my papers. And I'm like, oh, wow, you did great. That's so wonderful. Trash.
And you might have a spot where you display it for a week and then you let it go, like on the fridge. Okay, this is where we display things and then we reset so we can make way for the new wonderful things that you
I went and
do.
got like a cork board and like another little, I don't know, like wooden thing that you can,
That's a good
pop
idea.
up there. And so I'll rotate their schoolwork. So I'm not just like, because there is some really cute stuff, but I don't want to have to, like, I don't need that forever.
Right.
So we'll
enjoy it
we'll
for a
keep
time.
it up there for a little bit.
Yeah, and then you can decide, is this worth going in the file box or
Yes.
should we let it go?
Yeah.
One other thought is if it's something really cute but you don't really want to hang on to it, take pictures of it, and then you can compile eventually like, a printed out book if you want. It's all relative to the people, right?
Yes.
Some people are not going to do that. Some people are. Some people, the reason they're keeping that box of the doilies from Great Grandma Joan is because it has good memories and everything, but it's sitting in a box for years and years.
Right.
What if you took pictures so you can enjoy the memories and not have to keep it because it's ruined now because it was sitting up there for a long time.
That's a good idea.
That's how I feel about keepsakes. If you can't find a good way to display it,
Yes.
and it's just in a box, what's the
Exactly.
point?
Exactly.
But, find a cool way to display it, or
Exactly.
check it.
Or somebody who will use it. Maybe there's somebody in the family who really loves that and they will use it in their day-to-day life. Whereas you will not use a doily because you're not a lacy kind of person.
What is the purpose of a doily?
It's to decorate the top of a table.
Is that it?
I mean,
Is that
maybe
the only
like
functional use?
like heat pads
curious.
for not that you'd use a doily as a heat pad, but it's almost like to protect the fine wood too.
Okay.
Because people used to have nice furniture.
yeah. Not from IKEA.
See, but our lives have also changed
true.
very differently from somebody who came from, say, the Great Depression, or their family members were in the Great Depression, or even, in the 50s, they hosted with all this china. That was a big deal. Now we don't
I do
function
paper
that way,
plates.
Oh gosh, yes.
And then let's be real, if you're going to do a fancy party, you'd probably hire a caterer and have them, if you're going to that extreme, right, with fine china, you might do that.
The fine chinettes.
And, yeah.
I like the fine chinettes. We upgrading do the heavy duty oval chinette
Yes.
plates. Yes, that's
They're
for
so
Thanksgiving.
nice.
That's only
That's
only for
fancy.
fine occasions.
That's fancy.
And that's not to say there's some people out there who will use the fine china. Great. Good for you.
God bless them.
Yeah. I love you. Great.
It's not
I'm
my
not going to
style.
take the time to hand wash all those
Nothing's
dishes.
funnier
God,
than when I host Christmas, and my mom's always like, "Where's the what do you call it? What do you call it?
The plaque?
The table."
The runner?
Yeah, or
tablecloth?
yeah, like just she wants me to decorate.
Oh,
and
like
I'm
chargers and
yeah,
plates.
and I'm always like, oh, I don't know. I thought we were gonna like just sit on the couch. Here's some paper plates. They're red.
welcome. Merry Christmas.
Clean up after yourself, you filthy animals.
Oh my.
I'm the worst.
I know. I have to ask one more thing. So,
Sure.
the TikTok refrigerators,
What's that mean?
where they've got like the clear plastic bins and they've got like the Capri Suns and the
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with watching those, but
They're cool.
I know the bins, those clear organizer bins, they're not dishwasher safe. I'm not hand washing anything, so that's the
No.
only reason I haven't done it yet. But I'm like obsessed with watching people organize their refrigerators.
It's really
This
fun
is
to
what I
see.
do on the weekends, friends.
during your free time. I have to confess, I've sat there and watched stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is so fun.
Doesn't seem practical.
Granted, when I'm in there with clients, my approach, and you're going to meet different organizers with different approaches. I'm just going with what I've found has worked for most people. You really need to see what are your personal goals. A lot of people, their goal is not to have the perfect Pinterest worthy or TikTok worthy or whatever refrigerator, or even the spaces. Okay, a lot of the time I need it to function. I would like it to look pretty, but pretty is not the priority because I don't want to invest in all of the containers that all look the same. Let's use what we have already. And I think I would encourage a lot of people to, it doesn't have to be perfect to be organized. You really want function kind of first. Again, depending on the person, right? Because if you want to go out and invest in all of the new, product for that, great, that's wonderful. Could I do that? Yes. Could I deliver that? Yes. But the majority of the time, what can we do to at least get you started so you've got a functioning system working with what you've already had? And most of the time, we can make it really work. And, it's the pattern thing. Okay, all of the containers don't exactly match, but if we really mix it where the black ones and the white ones are in the right pattern, it looks really pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, right.
So my approach, I tend to want to work with what do you already have? Let's invest in things afterwards if we see we really need it. And that has worked really well for a lot of people. Most of the time, it's not lack of containers or pretty things. It's really, I don't even know how to set it up and use it. I don't know how to put things away based on how I'm going to use it or how it would function for the people using the space.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's not a container store here. That would be so
I'm
dangerous.
actually kind of glad / I'm a little bit sad because I really wish there was, or
You
even an
guys should open
IKEA
one.
close by because there, it's at least 2 hours one direction or something. And but
I'd be broke if there was a container store.
oh man,
I'd be like, I need a bin to put my bins in that I'm not using.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for
course.
coming. I'm
Thank
going to
you
have
for
to call
having
you
me.
for my garage of shame.
Oh yeah, and you do staging as well. Like
I do
free
staging.
listing staging stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yes, a lot. I don't have inventory, so I don't do vacant stagings.
it.
But a lot of the time, I'll come in and show me what you have. How can we work with what you
it.
have? There might be cases where I would recommend, you know what, this is a little, the client knows this is a worn coffee table with, punctures in the leather or something. Let's phase that out or find a way to cover it up if we really have to keep it.
Yeah.
But recommending how do you stage the home to appeal to the broadest audience of your potential buyer.
Yep.
Showcase wall space, floor space. How do you use a space that might be confusing? Maybe it's a huge space. How do you even set a huge space like that up? So dividing it into zones of how you'd use it. As you're standing in the doorway, what leads you into the room? Is it inviting? Are you walking into the back of a piece of furniture? That might not be the most ideal way to go into a room. You want it to be open and you want to know what the purpose of the space is.
Yeah.
So.
That's so important, the purpose. I feel like sometimes you have to like beat buyers overhead. It's like, this is a living room.
Yes.
This is a dining room.
Yes.
It's like some people just can't see it.
Yeah.
People are so visual.
I heard one place, a lot, like 80% of the population, they can't envision things. They have to just see it in front of them. 20%, they can envision all day long and they can see it in their head, so it just depends.
Yeah.
But that's why we're appealing to the 80%.
Right. Well, thank you again. And your company, A Time to Organize.
A Time to Organize.
And what's your handle on like Instagram?
I have a website? A Time to Organize.
And the 2 is the number 2.
The 2 is the number 2.
Time, number
To
2,
organize.
organize.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Stephanie,
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I hope
Happy
this like
organizing.
motivates everyone.
Yes, spring clean. Look at with your spring dress
With
on.
my Easter egg dress.
Spring and fun.
I love it. I'm like over here like winter is still here and you're like spring.
La la la.
Shove it in your bin. Well, we want to thank our sponsors real quick. Wilson Associates Real Estate. If you obviously have any listing questions or questions on the market right now, we would love to help.
Or need to get organized before you list.
Yes, for
Yep.
real. Prime Lending. We have Pearl Dentistry.
Can't wait.
Yes. And Parham Smith Archenhold and Blackacre. So thank you everybody so much for your sponsorship and your support to us. And we look forward to seeing you next time.